Cool. Okay. I have had some spotty luck with like cuts and like sometimes it doesn't broadcast as perfectly. So hopefully this video will not be garbage. But let's find out. Yeah, let's share that screen.
Why are you wearing pants?
This is a free lecture, so it means you didn't pay for pants. All right. Yeah, it's a desktop one. So, all right. So I got asked about React and Rails. How would they work together? How do they live together? And one of the things about this is that there's no reason that any client framework and any server framework wouldn't be able to talk, right? Because they just kind of speak the language of HTTP. That's all they really need. They just need to kind of do that. Now, with any Rails, that's not what I wanted. With Rails here, the idea was always that like you'd be able to, if you had a React app that you were serving from any server framework, you would have a few steps that were like, I'm going to serve up an HTML page, and that HTML page is going to have a bunch of links and script tags and image tags and video tags and whatever, and it's going to load up a bunch of its stuff, right? So there's kind of this cosmetic aspect. I load up HTML, and then I load up my actual app, right? And then you load up some JavaScript, your browser takes the JavaScript, it starts making things happen, and then it actually starts that's when the app actually starts, right? After it's been loaded and then it starts, and then you're really starting to now talk to the server with data. So what ends up happening when you have an app like this is that you have your server kind of exists in two apps. There is the cosmetic stuff, the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, the whole of what Rails will call the asset pipeline. And then there's the API. Right? So I'm going to it may seem daunting with Rails just because Rails is so much magic to be like Rails is magic, React is magic. Will their magics work, right? Like, is React a fire elemental and Rails a water elemental? And we're just gonna, I'm not sure if this was captured for the recording, but there was laughter. Okay, so. Good. I think we have that. All right. I'm gonna look at the mic as if that changed anything. So yeah, Rails plus React. So but the idea is that they should always be able to work together because they talk over the language of HTTP. So in order to have a backend that talks to a front end, we just need to be able to serve up assets, which Rails can do, and we need to be able to do API calls. That's it, right? So there's kind of two approaches that we can take to uniting Rails and React. And that is either a kind of two very separate apps, or given that Rails is this big, what they call the majestic monolith, or the magnanimous monolith. There's an M in the monolith, and they're pretty happy about it. It's like, okay, well, this is a big hulking beast. It's like one of those cities on wheels in the Mortal Engines, right? Maybe we should have like a little bit of React in that. That's a movie that's coming out. Cool. When that has cities on wheels. Or the Starship UK from that one episode of Doctor Who. Doesn't matter. Okay. So there could also be basically an island of React in a sea of Rails. Those are our two options. So I'm going to go through both of them here. Right, I'm going to do a quick demo, and I might leave authentication out of this for the time being, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's get into the 2 apps version. So I am going to open up this. I'm going to CD to 2 apps, and I'm going to create a client app and a server app. Okay. CD. So I'm going to use a utility called Create React App. It's just going to create. Going to create a React app as well. That's okay. I figured I'd say it, and then I was like, I'm also like an idiot. So here's my client app. I'm using Yarn. That's why you see the truck and the link and the. That's why you see emojis here. When I say Yarn, just think npm or download Yarn, and it'll do the same thing. All right. I may as well open up another site over here and CD. I guess I'm in 2 apps. Yeah, so I guess then I have to make my API app, right? I'm actually going to trash this one. CD client, Yarn start, CD client, Yarn start. And now I have a development server running at 3000. And this page looks like, well, it doesn't look anything yet. It will. In just one incredibly slow moment. Okay, there's my React app, right? So what I have created now is it's got node modules, public, source, has all this stuff. The source has an index.js. It has an app.js. I think I didn't want to do. What did I just do? That was right. Has that thing about service worker, wherever that is. So yeah, there's my app.js. Save reload. And that's running now at 3000. Okay, let's add a thing here. So I'm going to go into 2 apps, and now I'm going to create my server. And before I do that, I'm going to say Rails new -- help and take a look at some of my options. Do that again. Okay. There's a lot of options here, but this is the one I'm going to focus on. Can everyone read that? It's the API. I'm going to make a smaller stack smaller stack for API only apps. All right. So Rails new server -- API. Maybe I'm going to skip a few things here I want to skip. Database template, skip namespace, Ruby path. There's one about that active storage. There it is. Skip active storage. All right. CD server. So now I have my Rails server. I'm going to say Rails serve -p. I think I can do. -help. Yeah. So server. Well, first I have to do Rails DB setup because Rails. And also Rails DB migrate because also Rails. And then I have to, I'm just going to go ahead and create a scaffold, right? Rails generate scaffold, hobbits, first name, string, last name, string. I'm so sorry. Town, string, page. I'm sorry. I'm not sure that foot hairiness is going to I'm going to put on here. All right. Rails. So you see this is a bit of a smaller, by the way, setup stuff, right? What's one thing that you see missing from our MVC? Yeah, there's no V in our MVC. It's just MC. Just MC Hammer up here. So yeah, that's the MC I went with. All right. So you can make a couple more. 3 MCs and 1 DJ. So yeah, now Rails DB migrate. And the cool thing about this in this particular app, if you look at your controllers, if you look at your application controller, that is the parent controller for all controllers, right? And if I hadn't done -- API, it would be action controller : base, and now it's API. So this is a stripped down version for this, which means it's going to have all sorts of bells and whistles. So I'm going to say Rails server -p 3001. So let me close some of this stuff up. 2001. Okay, you're on Rails. And if I take a look at Hobbits, you'll notice that it's a it's one of them things. It's JSON. This is JSON, and yeah, so I'll be able to do JSON things with the same routes apply. Rails routes. I have all those. Well, I don't have. You'll notice it's 6 instead of 8. Why is it 6 instead of 8? What 2 prefixes am I missing? New Hobbit, Meta Hobbit, right? Because all those do is serve up a form. I don't need to serve up a form. I don't need to like write all that in. I'm sneaking behind the counter because I'm in my counter metaphor from earlier. No, you're right. All right, so I just have all I have here is my crud, my bread, my bread crud, right? So let's actually get these two working with each other. Now I'm going to be working in dev mode here. Oh. Do you have a problem there, bud? Oh yeah. So there's localhost 3000 and localhost 2001. All right, so I'm going to go over to my my client app. I'm going to make I'm going to get all the hobbits I can, and I'm going to make a form to make some hobbits. Fair enough. All right, let's go here. I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to yarn add Axios. It's a little Ajax library. I find it to be a little handier than fetch. Fetch can be a bit of a pain from time to time for reasons. So I like using Axios. It's a little more user friendly. At least while I'm like prototyping stuff. So yeah. So on start, I got me my Axios. I'm gonna go to my app.js here. Yes, thank you. And what I'm going to say here is, well, I have a class. To the constructor, sorry. Props. Is it all right if I use some shorthand? Will that hurt anyone's feelings or confuse anyone? Okay, state equals hobbits. Loading true. Right? And then I'm going to say component did mount. And I'm going to say, okay, import Axios from Axios. And I'm going to do an Axios get const. So Axios.get, and I want to get those hobbits, right, from my API. Y'all didn't miss much. It's mostly been set up. So So I want to get Hobbit. So basically, right now I have a React app running at localhost 3000. I have an API server. I was able to make a new Rails project with the -- API flag, and now it's just all JSON in. All right. Here's my. So here's the routes. I created a Hobbits. I scaffolded a Hobbits thing. And as index create, show, update, update, destroy, no edit Hobbit, no new Hobbit, because that was just a page to create a form. But we're doing Ajax. We're doing JSON only, right? So, all right, cool, cool, cool. You're about caught up. So over here, I want to get Hobbits, right? You guys saw me do a get the Hobbits. That should be a thing. Then response. Let's just do a console log. Log response. Cool, cool, cool. And let's also catch the error. Console.log error. Right? Okay, so let's see what happens here. Well, it doesn't have a :3000 / Hobbits. Well, that's because the Hobbits are over on 3001, right? All right, fair enough. Let me go get those Hobbits. I guess I need to go http ://localhost 3001 / Hobbits, right? That's that. Only it won't let me do that. This has been blocked by course policy. No access control allow origin header. I can't get stuff from one domain into another domain, which is okay. So apparently this type way of doing things doesn't work. I'm sorry I led you astray. This is a common thing that happens, is that you'll be developing one of these and then it'll kind of like, you'll have to, when we actually do launch this, they'll all be on the same domain because we'll be launching this from 3001, from the whatever the server domain is. But for right now, how do we get them to talk? And what Webpack Dev Server comes with is a proxy. So Webpack Dev Server proxy. So we can say, hey, when someone makes a call to like API, go to this other domain. And with the Create React app, it is even like one step easier. We can just put this in the package JSON. So what I'm going to say here is now proxy. All right. I'm going to go back to my node. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to run this. I'm going to go back to my app.js. And I'm going to say, okay, instead of going to localhost 3001 Hobbits, just go to /Hobbits. That means it's going to make a call to localhost 3000 / Hobbits. And what this is going to do, once it gets its poop in a group, is that it is actually going to, it's going to make a call to localhost 3000 / Hobbits to the Webpack Dev Server. Webpack Dev Server is being like, I don't know anything about Hobbits, but I have a proxy of 3001. I'm going to make a request to 3001 / Hobbits. I'm going to get them Hobbits. I'm going to serve you some Hobbits. Yeah. I just said Hobbits for money. So there's my data, which is, of course, an empty array, which we're cool with. But now that we have that proxy set up, now we can do this just fine. Let's actually do something with our response here. We're going to set this.set state, loading's false, Hobbits is response.data. And then down here, I'm going to say the edit this.state.loading. Loading ... Otherwise, this.state.hobbits. .map hobbit. Hobbit component. Hobbit. What a delightful misspelling. Pass that Hobbit to the Hobbit component. I was saying Hobbit isn't funny anymore. It's a funny joke until you make it too many times. Or at least as funny as it was the first time, it is less funny the 20th time. Function, Hobbit, Hobbit. I just sound like a weird frog. Return if Hobbit dot first name yeah, good enough. So this was loading, and then it was like it had hobbits, but of course it doesn't have hobbits because there's no hobbits to have. So I have to make a form here. So let's do const make hobbit. And this is going to take in, I guess, first name, last name, town, age. And here we're going to do, axios.post 2/hobbits with, I guess I really should do it in the version that they will expect it. Then response. We're just going to do a console.log response.data. And then I'm going to make a form here. That's just all about. It's all about making them hobbits, so we can actually see some data pass. That's not how you build a form, like even a little bit. Form. This one's going to have on submit of the function on submit, which I have not yet written down. Submit event prevent default. All right, so this is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to p tag input type is text. Does anyone actually need to see me put in a Hobbit for us to be like totally clear on how this whole Hobbit thing works?
Yes.
Okay, Dawson. Name equals first name, Dawson. I wonder also if I have to make this Hobbit. Oh, we'll figure it out. Which reminds me, I think on my error, I should like handle that error. Error. Arr. Console.log error. Arr. And then here I'm going to say like there's first name. Last name. Down. Age, and we're actually going to make this a number type. And my on submit, I'm going to just console.log event.target.elements. And that's going to get me just a list to make sure that my form works or is present or what the hell form. Form on submit. Oh, ha! Adorbs. Here we are. First name, Peregrine, Took, Hobbiton. I think he's like in his like 60s, right? That's how hobbits are old. I also don't have a submit. I'm a dum-dum. E input type submit. Save the hobbits. Oh. Input is a void element tag. All right, sorry. That should be button. So, Peregrine, you fool of a dog. All right, let's save the hobbits. We have first name, last name, town, age, and the value is the value numeric? Please, value be numeric. Value is number. Ha ha ha! Awesome. So then I will say that this, no, not this. Const on submit equals. This is awful. This dot make hobbit. Let's make hobbits, everybody. That sounds weird. All right. Event dot target dot elements dot first name dot value. Event dot target dot elements dot last name dot value. Dawson. Event dot target dot elements dot town dot value, and event dot target dot elements dot age dot value as number. Okay. It should be fine. We'll find out. Peregrine, Took, Hobbiton. The hobbits. Oh, made a hobbit. So age 67, ID 1. Cool, cool, cool. So when I reload this page, I will have a hobbit. Awesome. Peak not, yeah, whatever. I don't care about that. So now we have something that has referenced an API. It's gotten a thing back. I'm delighted. You're delighted. Apparently repeating the name Hobbit over and over will put Andy Lindsay to sleep, but that's fine. All right, so okay, so we've now done the thing, right? Where we have our server and we have our front end, but now they're still running on two different apps, right? What do we do? One thing we can easily do is with this create React app is that we can do a build. Yarn build. Like Build-A-Bear, but without a bear. Isn't it Build-A-Bear? Yeah, it's like where you assemble a teddy bear. Which, yeah, there's this bit in the Good Place where it's like build an actual bear. It's just like them putting like hats and stuff on a bear. It's great. All right, that's not the point, but it should be. All right, so what I've done is I have now a build folder. Oh, well, this is a lot of stuff that could probably just go into the public folder of my server. So I'm going to say cp-a build. And that should go to /server/public. So I'm going to take everything that's in my build folder and put it into my public folder, right? Which means that the server now has in its public some stuff. So now, right here, what URL am I at? 3,000? Oh, look. I'm now on 3001 with my production version. I have integrated the two, and this is ready to push to Heroku. I am so proud. I'm physically nauseous. Okay. Nauseated, technically, because nauseous means to cause nausea. It doesn't matter. All right. Okay, so that was version 1. We do the two apps. There's a few things that are really great about this approach. One is that like your API team can be working on your API, your front end team can work on your front end. You can just sort of like integrate as you go, as long as you're all playing according to the same rules. And if you're using Rails, there's a good chance you are all playing according to the same rules. There's a whole authentication flow that I'm not going to bother you with. It's basically everything you've done. There's two ways to sort of authenticate a front end app. There's two big common ways. One is just to use regular cookies and sessions, and the other one is to use something called a token, like a JWT, as it's sometimes known, or sometimes called a JOT, JSON Web Tokens. So there's a way to pass secure tokens. But that is, if I started doing that, half of you would be lost and half of you would be bored. And no, that's not true. A quarter of you would be lost, a quarter of you would be bored, and 50% of you would be lost and bored. So, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to show you the second way of doing this, which is an island of React and a sea of Rails. Y'all ready for this? Luckily, this is going to have a lot less actual me making the JavaScript app. So let's do that. So I'm going to make a regular old. So let me get this Ruby and kill it. cd dot dot cd dot dot. Okay. Go. What I'm going to do is I am going to make a new Rails app. Rails new. And this is going to be React-Island, I guess. Skip active storage, please. Okay, you'll notice that this is not a dash dash API. And that is dash dash just fine. Because for a couple of reasons, and one of the big ones is that we can still add this API thing later. So what I'm going to do is cd into React Island. Okay. It's going to be fun, y'all. All right, so I have, I'm going to make just some of the things just to make one route that's going to be the home for my React thing, right? It's going to just say Rails generate controller. Let's take a look at that. Rails generate skip routes. I can say, I think I can say which ones I just want it to do. So Rails generate, you know, actually, no, I'm going to leave this as is. I'm going to generate API slash Rails generate controller API slash hobbits. I'm just going to get, you know, maybe index and create. Kind of the only two things I do, right? All right, so let's take a look at my routes.rb. And I have namespace API get hobbits index, get hobbits create, which I think I'm going to say get hobbits should go to. Am I doing this right? I feel like I'm not doing this right. How about resource hobbits only index and create? I think that should do. Let's do a Rails routes. So there's API hobbits, API slash hobbits, but it doesn't have. Isn't this index another thing? Whatever. I'll figure it out. So I'm going to go to my hobbits controller. Got to choose the right one. Def index, def create. I'm going to Rails generate. No, this isn't where I did that. Stupid. All right, so Rails generate model, hobbits. I guess it was first name, string, last name, string, town, string, age, integer. Right? And that gives me a migration. So Rails DB setup. DB migrate. Okay. So I have this index and I have this create. Cool. And then I have the views, it's API and layouts. I think I want to add where did I put my index.html? Just double check a thing. Rails index. Rails homepage view. Now we have made the controller in view, we can tell, oh, right, okay, awesome. I'm gonna say def homepage end, and I'm gonna tell, no, that doesn't quite, whatever. Does it? No, it doesn't. Yes, it does, I don't care. I'm gonna call this, homepage, whatever, it's gonna be, one thing I want to do here with this API is I want it to have a controller here that is application controller, action controller based, but I don't want it to be action controller based. I want it to be action controller API. Right? I want it to, and this is like hobbits equals hobbits.all. I think I can say render and run this real quick. Rails server. $3,000. Is no route matches API/hobbits. Yeah, why isn't that? Okay, fine. Get /hobbits going to be so on Rails routing. Rails routing from the outside in. Get right to hobbits hashtag index, and then post hobbits is going to be to hobbits hashtag create. Oh, didn't mean that fast. Right, so now I have these. When we start this, should have now a localhost 3000 API hobbits. Can't be reached. Give it a second. Also can't be reached. Come on. What's its problem? Come on. 2, right. Oh. All right. Okay, Rails server. Come on. I'm going to keep refreshing you until you do a thing. Uninitialized hobbits controller hobbits, because that's, no, yeah, you're right. That should be hobbit.all, singular. Care so much about the singulars and plurals, right? So there's hobbit.all, and then def create private def hobbit params. I know, it's ridiculous. And it's like params dot permit first name, last name, town, age, and then here it's going to be all like Hobbit equals Hobbit.new Hobbit params, and if Hobbit.save else, and we're gonna hit, render JSON Hobbit status 201 for created, else render JSON Hobbit dot errors, I think. Status 400, right? Okay. So I don't necessarily want to go through this part, but that's my API endpoints, right? So now I just need to make. I'm just going to make a Rails generate controller main, and that main controller is going to have f-index and hopefully some views. Yeah, main index.html.here herb. Right, that's all it has to have, and I have to say in routes get /to main hashtag index. Okay, so now if I go to localhost 3000, should have this, React Island main that doesn't have anything on it, right? I'm even going to say, I'm going to double check to make sure that there's no page source is empty. Oh, never mind, there is stuff. Okay, then I'm going to take all this and just say h1 hi. All right, so this is just the sort of crap you have to go through to make a Rails app, right? Still technically quicker than Express, but also just seriously painfully boring. Now, so we have our API routes and we have our this, right? But this is our React app, and there's some API stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create my React app here. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring in the Rails React gem. Or is it React Rails? Yeah, it's React Rails. Out of the other gems, like there's another one called React on Rails. I have found this one to be fairly easy to set up, comparatively. So I'm going to add these two things. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to open up my gem file. Gem file. That's right. It's for you, Jessica. All right. Webpacker, React Rails. I have to, of course, I added stuff to my gem file. So what do I have to do? Bundle install. Gundle? That's not it. Jessica. Right, and then it wants me to do Webpacker install, or Rails. If I look now at Rails, I can see that there's going to be apparently confusion. All right, whatever. It's mad. So Rails Webpacker install. It's just one. Yeah. Hopefully, it won't be that. Okay. So now I have that. It's brought in stuff. So there's Yarn again. Hey everybody, it's our good friend Yarn. Doing yarny shit. Uh-huh. Making a real skein because it's yarn. And they come in skeins. You're right. It was awful. So, Rails Webpacker install. Good. I'm going to install React. I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be another thing. So it's just adding stuff to React, or the React stuff that I'm looking for. I know it's another whole set of, that was not as long. And then we're going to generate React install. Rails generate React install. All right, that's the boring stuff. Okay. Now, I'm going to generate link the pack in Rails view, right? So let me find application.html.erb. And it says below the integ below turbo links. Here, maybe? Cool. I don't care. Okay. Right, and so now I'm going to create a new component, Rails generate. If I look at my help, I have now React component, React install, right? So I can Rails generate React component, and this is going to be Hobbit app. And I can even pass it, surprise you, Hobbits. Hobbits. I guess this is going to be an array. Hooray! Okay, so if I look in my components here, I have Hobbit app.js. Oh. Anyone else with me? Oh. I didn't even have to write, I'm not even going to have to write an index.js, which is kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close all this open stuff. I'm going to find Hobbit app.js, right? Hobbits is this .props.hobbits, Hobbits prop types array. Oh, they've made some stuff for us, everybody. Check out the stuff it made. So what I'm going to do is, right now, I can actually take this component and look, guys, their library included. What's that? What's this that it included? What do we call a little bit of Ruby function? It's going to create some HTML in our page. What do we call that? Did an entire lecture on it this morning with you guys. Is there any little helper who wants to tell me what this is called? Starts with an H, ends the helper.
Configuration.
Configuration. You can go to hell. All right. Per documentation to find out more. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say in that index.html.erb, that is our main app, I can now say React component Hobbit app. And the Hobbits in question is, of course, as hobbit.all. Of course. No, I don't care about you. You. Oh, please work. There we go. Now, of course, it doesn't have any hobbits of which to speak, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in loading false. And I'm going to say in my Hobbit app, in my state here, I'm going to do constructor props for starters. Props. Super props, because I'm going to get some stuff passed to my props, aren't I? I am. This dot state equals this dot state, this dot props, or sorry, props. Hobbits is props dot hobbits, or an empty array. And loading is props dot loading. If the props dot loading is false, then false, otherwise true. So this just says, like, if it is false, then that's totally a thing. But if not, meh, I don't care. Right? And then I'm going to copy all my code from two apps here. From the component did mount down. Actually, from the make Hobbit down. Yeah. Replace the render here. Now it's not going to style the same because I'm not bringing in all the styles from the page. But technically speaking, God willing and the creek don't rise. Let's take a look, see what happened. Oh, logo is not defined. Of course it's not defined. So I brought in some stuff that I didn't need to bring in, like that. Now, come on, you gorgeous piece of what's it? There it is. There's all my routes. Let's see if we can create a Hobbit. Peregrine, Took, from Hobbiton, who is 67. The Hobbits. Axios is not defined. I'd have to bring in Axios from my yarn. I think that's just a matter of, here's that package JSON. So I could cd React Island and just yarn add Axios. Try this again. Come on, buddy. Peregrine, who is 67. Still saying Axios isn't defined. I might have to make a change to that, the Hobbit app here. It's pretty sure that stuff was going to be available, but maybe if I pause this to have a re-render. Yeah. Oh, import Axios from Axios. There it is. Hey, everybody, I found it. Reload this. So now I'm able to do like all of my package JSON, and I'm able to do all my Webpack stuff, and I'm able to do all that, and it's just kind of working right here. Hobbiton. Okay, localhost 3000 Hobbits not found, but that's just because I changed the address. /API/Hobbits. One more time. So now that I've gotten it, like I'm just kind of adjusting it to my app, but now I have, again, it is an island of React in a sea of Rails. And here's the other cool thing about this. Do you see how I passed in Hobbits to start with? Who has been to the Olive Garden? Right? Have you been to the Olive Garden? Okay, so what's the one feature about the Olive Garden? Bread sticks, right? Now, when you go, do you go to the Olive Garden just to eat breadsticks?
Yes.
And it's okay if the answer is yes. But they have other meals there as well, right? So what happens is that when you go to the Olive Garden, when you sit down, you get breadsticks, so you are not angry. And then you can order your actual food, right? But you're getting food, you're not being hangry, is not impeded by the whole getting the food, the ordering and the getting the food to you process, right? You have something immediately. This is like breadsticks. I can actually do a server-side React render. My React gets rendered server-side. So let's create Peregrine 2 here. Right, so Peregrine is created. And now it is mad because Hobbit is not defined. Hobbit app. And my JavaScript is not defined. Right, because I don't have that Hobbit function. I didn't copy that over. Right, that's my bad. But that means I can just do, it's good because that means that there's finally Hobbits. Hobbits exist, everybody. I mean they, sure, why not? Try it again. So what happens is, yeah, it loads up with some data immediately, and that's breadsticks. And then we can start the whole process of actually getting something. So you don't have to see a loading screen, you don't have to see anything. It is already rendered. And if I take a look at the view page source, I'm pretty sure that what I see, okay. So basically it's just taken some of that data loaded in and just immediately rendered with that. So it didn't render the HTML itself, but we did get some breadsticks. Okay. So what is cool about this? You can have, so if you wanted to have like for your final project or for any project like that, you want it to have, oh, I like the magic of Rails. I like being able to have it. And to be honest, most of my needs are really served just fine by server rendered pages. But I got this one thing. That's cool. Like for us, Compass is mostly a Rails app. It mostly has pages that are rendered in the regular Rails way. But there's certain things that need to be live. Certain bits where it's like we would like to have a little pool of interactivity or a little island of activity in the regular flow of things. And so we get to have that by this method. This is very similar to a thing I've been doing in Python's Django framework as well. It was a little more, I had to be a little more like direct with it, the whole thing. Like I had to be more like, I had to make my index.js's and it wasn't going to render it quite as nicely as this one, but it was the same idea. So this just simply kind of embeds an object in there and then it just kind of loads up and you're good. Anyone have any questions? Now, the one thing I didn't cover was authentication. All right, well, I'll see you guys later. There are a few methods of doing authentication when you have apps like this. If you look back at some of my week 6, day 4 lectures, I do kind of cover that because I didn't like the more WebSockets lecture. But if that's a thing where it's like, hey, we would actually like to do authentication, I will do second breakout. But that is a different breakout altogether. And that's that is orthogonal to this. Okay. Cool. Thank you all so much for your rapt attention. Thank you for your involvement. I'll see you guys later.
Isn't it orthogonal?
Is it orthogonal? Yeah, you're probably right. It's orthogonal. No, you're right.
I want to be that guy.
Like orthodoxy. Yeah. No, I should be able to be corrected.
Oh, you're that guy.
Half the time I'm like, well, I don't think it is, and then right. But in this case, no, I think you have me.
Okay.
You have me done. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong.
Oh,
See you later.
really hungry now.